What's up, guys? This is Nicky from the Bike Minded Podcast, and this episode is brought to you guys by the folks over at bicycle.com. They're the globe's largest marketplace for used bikes, where you can find over 20,000. You can search from over 20,000, you guys, used and refurbished road, mountain, gravel, you name it, bikes. You can search their marketplace for whatever brand you're looking for. They even deliver a box to your door so that they take all that work out of it for you. So feel free to check out their website. That's BUYCYCLE and use our code BikeMinded to receive 0% seller fees when you sell your bike on their marketplace online. Get your used bike sold so you can get a brand new one. Check it out, guys. Bicycle.com and use the promo code BikeMinded. Now let's get into this episode. Well, look at us today. I'm also at look at Birkenstocks. This is the first time I've ever worn.
Such California girls.
This is the first time I've ever worn something like this, and it's a major change for me.
Oh, so they're new. Yeah, they look pretty new.
Yeah, so it's a lifestyle change, and I have to let people know that I wear these shoes now. I had to make an announcement to my friend group.
Were you having a sweaty foot? Swamp foot.
I am kind of a sweatier foot guy. Yeah. So that was, but more or less it was like a fashion choice. I like the look of them, and I was just kind of like...
Interesting.
I'm only learning all these benefits after owning them for a little bit.
Yeah.
You know? So, I have them now, and it's part of my life. And so Did
you do an array of colors?
I've been perusing around the Subaru dealerships and,
good.
Just completing the whole package.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Now,
hanging out at REI.
We got to get back to our hot or not. I don't know if you have something lined up for this episode, but what do you think of
we have to get some hot or nots going.
When you have an unexpected cooler day, are you... socks and sandals, bro?
You know, when I actually texted my a group of my guy friends, and one of them chimed in and said, "Yeah, the socks with the Birkenstocks is the move.
It's the look."
And so I don't know. I'm not hip to all the fashion yet. So I'm not against it. I have done it. I actually did that, and we'll get into the death ride, but I did that when I was riding up to another group of friends when I just wanted to have shoes on. And so I had my riding socks on and just rode with the Birkenstocks with the socks, and it was lovely.
Wait a second. So you didn't do the death ride with socks and Birks on? Because that would be...
No, okay. I did not complete it. But, yeah, and you guys, so I made it to the death ride.
Okay. Let's jump right in.
Yeah, so
give the people what they want.
We're gonna dance around it for a second, but I did actually make it because I know there's a cliffhanger. It was a big cliffhanger whether I was gonna make it or not.
You are alive, not an aberration.
I'm not
apparition.
Abortion. What are we looking for here?
It's a fancy word for ghost.
All the hard. Oh yes, I think you're right.
You're still among the living. You completed the ride.
I am a real boy, a real human.
You're
and I made
real
it.
Boy.
I'm a real boy. I made it, so we'll get into all those details. But we were talking last time about how life has just been throwing all of the wrenches at me, and just trying to make sure that I don't make it to any events this year.
But it's consistent, so no surprises.
It's always just
shitty.
I'm ducking, I'm dodging, I'm looking for things. And this one still almost didn't come true because I don't know if I talked about this when it was right before I was going to have to leave, like a day or so before. And I wasn't sure if I was going to go because my kids were getting sick, and they're always sick. So they had developed hand, foot, and mouth.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think I had maybe mentioned that.
Yes.
And then my son, my oldest, got an ear infection, which we found out at the doctor's days before I was going to leave. And so I'm like, okay, great. This is not going to happen as well. But we got him on some meds. Things were good. it all worked out and I was able to go, which is a whole, there's a story of doing the death ride, which I of course want to get into. And then there's a story of taking the RV by myself to the death ride and having my own like personal RV experience, which was like really enjoyable.
I want the whole thing. I love a good immersive story from start to finish.
So you're familiar with death ride?
Yeah,
though?
Absolutely.
So I just looked at the stats. For some reason,
our listeners, though, why don't you just break it down?
California. It's just south of South Lake Tahoe.
Okay.
But it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. It's known as the Tour of the California Alps. Mm-hmm. Big, huge mountains that you climb up and over. It's one of the most scenic places I've ever seen like this as far as like mountain ranges go that are rideable. Roads are completely shut down. SAG support, numerous motorcycles running the whole length of it. It is dialed. Like the event is super dialed. They've been doing it for
a long time.
They've been doing it for 50 something years or something like that.
Wow.
So I don't know how many they're exactly on right now. I think it's over 50. I'll have to look into it. But it's a very well established event. And
race ride, chill ride.
It's a personal record ride, I think, for most people. It's like, okay, so I did it at this pace last year. I'm going to do it at this pace this year.
And stats on it, how many miles, how much elevation?
103 miles. Yep. For some reason, I thought it was over 14K. It was 13K.
Okay.
But it doesn't matter at that point. It's too many Ks for me. Too many Ks.
Yeah.
6 passes. So they give you a stamp at each one. You have like a little bib number on the back and they stamp you at each one of these so they know you completed all of them. So you can get a fancy little pin at the end that says you were a finisher of the death ride. 2 of them are quite seriously massive, and the way the course is laid out, it's out and back. So you're like, you start the ride, you have a decent climb, but then you get this awesome descent, and you're descending forever.
Like an hour.
It's crazy how long you're descending
and then you're thinking, I'm going to have to climb this.
Yes, that's what you start realizing. And the first one is like, yes, brutal, but like, you're just not realizing how long it takes you to climb back up these. And that's what your whole day is out and backs. Like, it's kind of this like 3-pronged map. So you're like riding out, you go to descend down the first one, climb up, descend down the second one, climb back up. Then there's another like a shorter out and back. It's kind of a mind fuck because you're getting this endorphin rush as you're going forward and people are a little further behind you and they're just starting the adventure you're starting. But sometimes they're descending and you're just sitting there like sweating your ass off, just like dying on a climb.
And what was the weather like that day?
It was really nice. I heard in comparison to previous years, I think it was just under 90 degrees, but it was overcast. So it actually kind of dropped the temperature even lower than they thought it was going to be.
So not a lot of tree cover.
Not a ton of tree cover, but it was overcast a good chunk of the day. So it wasn't like super hot. Didn't feel like it until late in the day, of course.
What about like condition of roads and average gradient?
Pristine roads.
Awesome.
Pristine roads. There were a few little spots that had some kind of like descents where you had to like watch the road a little bit, but nothing super major. And like I said, they shut down the roads. So there's no cars. There's 0 cars.
That's amazing.
It was, that part was remarkable. I mean, the safest ride ever. But mentally this ride is just, I mean, I talked about it on my social media. I have a whole story. If you guys are interested, you can follow me on IG, LaCroix Bad Boy. I have what do they call that? Story highlight of the whole death ride experience for me. I didn't do a ton of coverage, but I did post throughout the day. So if you guys want to check that out, it's on there. But I'm not a climber. Like, I'm just not. I'm too big to be a climber. My bike I brought was not a climber's bike. It's like an aero race bike. I do this too. Like, I'm like, I'm not a sprinter. I don't have a lot of power, but
doesn't, I mean, putting these labels on ourselves like we're pro cyclists, it's like, okay, you may not have a climber's physique, a professional, like someone that would be dubbed a climber who's a pro racer, but you climbed.
I climbed.
You did it.
I mean, I can get through it. It's, I don't know. Even climber guys, it's still hard for, right? Like they're lighter, but like it doesn't mean they get sucked up the hill like in some vacuum.
Yeah, like
it's just
a vortex sucking them up.
It's still hard for everybody. And on as long of a day as it was.
So obviously 13K, 3 passes. I'm guessing. I mean, is it about, would you say
No,
you're
it's
looking
technically
at
6 passes. So it's
so
like
it's
2 really, really huge ones. And I
I'd
can
love
show
to see
you
like what your longest climb is.
We'll put this on, I will put the actual segment because they have the segment saved.
Like, did you log your longest climb? I bet you did.
Yes, I think so.
And are we looking at like a 10, 15 mile climb? I want to look at what the gradients are.
Okay, so the weird thing that they do for this is they only gave you they listed it as a segment and not as an actual route. So I'm trying to figure out if there's any way for me to show you. God, there's not really a way. Anyways, I will find it for you guys. Let's do my Strava. 3rd longest ride, personally. God, it just doesn't really give me the...
Let me see. Let me play around with this.
So, you may be able to navigate.
You keep telling us.
But I mean, these are some of these climbs are taking you like hours, multiple hours to do these climbs. And here's the thing that I will say for sure is that coming into this, my fitness was not peak, which would be fine, but I just don't do much climbing. Like I just don't.
Sure.
I'll do some rolly hill rides, but I don't do days where I'm just sitting and climbing for hours at a time. It just doesn't, I don't do that. I haven't even done a lake loop in forever. So it was something completely out of the ordinary for me, but I think the name of the game, and so when it started, I'll kind of take you guys to the beginning of the day. I met up the night before, brought the RV, like I said, met up the night before with some of the Enjoy boys once I got there. And they were with future guests of the show, which we will have. I planned it with him, Lance Hydett. Do you know who he is?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Former writer for Legion. Super nice dude.
Yeah, rad.
Nicest dude ever. Him and I were talking and chatting, and I told him like...
A little hand holding.
Yeah. And...
booty smacking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
Yep. Forehead kisses.
Yep.
No, a super nice guy. The nicest dude. And him and I were talking about San Luis Obispo because he lives in SLO. And... my brother just started riding and he lives there too. So I'm like, yeah, maybe I'll bump into my brother sometime. But him and I were chatting about cyclocross and all this other good stuff. And I dropped the line. I was like, hey, you should come on our podcast sometime. Love to have you on. So anyways, got to meet Lance. Super cool dude. He rode with us for the beginning of the ride. But yeah, you're up at like, I was up at 4 a.m.
Okay.
Didn't sleep for shit. Apparently altitude, not good for you if you're not acclimated to altitude for sleep. I didn't sleep.
Yes.
I slept maybe an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, maybe.
That's, I don't know about you, but I personally, when I'm fatigued or when I don't get enough sleep, it shows up as nausea in my body. Like I get really nauseous. It's hard for me to put in enough nutrition. Like I just feel overall not great. I'm trying to open it up in Garmin and Connect.
We can do, let me see.
I'm gonna open it and there we go. We're gonna break it down right now. So here we go. We got this.
Yeah,
we're gonna go down to the climbs. We're gonna check it out.
Okay, so first major climb is from a base level of 5,500 feet to 82.
Okay. So a few thousand.
And that's
feet.
so 15 miles in, you've done, 80, 100 feet of climbing. And so it's just, I mean, there's so many, God, I'm just not good at looking at this data. If you guys are data nerds, you've already know that you're not listening to the right podcast.
Yeah. Excellent.
So
also, to be fair, like Strava's not the best at that. Like it says here. So, I mean, it says here it's 14.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Why is I know the event is over 14K, but why is this showing? It's only showing me 13,000 through even my Wahoo.
Have you gone on through the Strava app and fixed your elevation gain? Corrected your elevation?
Mm-hmm. No.
I would do that. Oh, and you ride Wahoo?
Yeah.
Wahoo always downgrades. Always.
Damn you, Wahoo.
Yeah. You're like, I'm gnarlier. I'm gnarlier than people think.
So anyway, 5 a.m. the ride starts. Some people start earlier. There's no official start. There's no gun. There's no anything. People are just meet at the start line at 5 a.m. Just kind of roll out.
So no cutoff time either.
There are cutoff times. There are max times for all of these checkpoints. So if you're not making it there by that point, then I think they just drive you back. But they're pretty generous with those times. There are a lot of people that are up there that you're like, this can't be a serious cyclist. But there are people out there that are just gnarly as hell, as I found out. Like, just, you wouldn't even guess by looking at them. There was one dude on an old school mountain bike. Did the whole thing. Yeah. Just to prove he could do it. In no sort of kit that you'd be like, he was a super, of course there's
he was in Birks.
Yeah, he was in Birkenstocks. Yeah, saggy Jinko jeans and
Lachlan. It was Lachlan.
It was Lachlan. Yeah.
His next challenge, doing on a beaten ass mountain bike.
That'd be fantastic.
Dude.
He could do it.
Yeah.
He'd probably beat the record too.
Yeah. He'd do it on a Brompton.
But, yeah. He did it on a Strider.
Yeah. That's amazing.
5 a.m. roll out with the dudes. You're basically watching the sunrise. Mike Stewart was out there too.
Of course.
He rolled with us, and I'm mad, so mad. He's so fit. It's crazy.
God.
He can do anything.
Yeah, he can.
That dude.
Yeah.
So such a solid. The vibes were very high. And the beginning of the ride was great. Like I said, got to hang with some people and chat with some people that I knew for a while before everybody kind of dispersed. Their pace was a little higher than I wanted to do for that long.
That's what I was going to ask you. Going into it, did you have any sort of plan? I want to kind of hold this pace. I want to hold this power, knowing... Because you've obviously done races before, and you know the importance of kind of pacing yourself for the long run and kind of calibrating that power versus I need this amount of energy. I have this amount of fuel that,
I was going to plan on doing a power, because I do have power and I had all that data in front of me. But the more I heard about from what people are saying about riding at elevation, which I haven't done much of at all, is to watch your heart rate more. So I was watching my heart rate, and I was keeping a close eye on my heart rate, and I didn't want it to get too high above a certain number. I didn't want my heart rate to get really throughout the day above 170.
Well, it looks like you were in zone 1 and 3 mostly the whole time.
Yeah.
Because you're climbing too. It's just yeah.
Yeah. So I was really keeping my heart rate really within a certain area. I think that my data showed my average power for the whole ride was around 200, which I was if I sit at the end of the day with an average of 200, I would be fine with that. Now, keep in mind, my FTP is about 100 above that. But,
okay. Your FTP is what?
I'm not giving exact numbers. I won't show it.
Wait.
No, but I don't care. It's just it's close to about 300, just over 300.
All right.
So,
mine is significantly lower.
Yeah. And everybo's where they're at. So,
but also factor in weight here, body weight.
Exactly. Yeah. So everybody's going to be different, a bigger number. Even
I think at 300 watts, I'm pedaling 10 watts per kilo.
So I was keeping these numbers, obviously that's where I think power was less important. Cause of course I'm man, I really want to keep it here or there. But I was just keep pay attention to your heart rate. This is a long day. You've never done anything this difficult. So it's like, just keep your heart rate in a good zone and don't let it get too high because you might not recover from it. That's all I heard was like at elevation, you can't recover from overly high heart rates.
Right.
So I was just keeping it chill. I was like, this is your first year. Let's just like get this thing done and blah. And even at that, I will tell you, as the day went on, it was obviously becoming harder and harder for me to wrap my head around. Like I was doing really well through those first peak, second peak, the third and fourth that are like smaller, but like looking at my map, I was like, oh, these, like, if we're looking at this right here, like through this third one I came through, I was like, oh, these are tiny. Looking at my map, I was like, these are so tiny. They were not like, and they were not small. They were still this climb right here. And I'm looking at my Wahoo, which like makes everything so much smaller.
Sure.
I'm just like, this is still a massive climb, you know? And it was just
talking
really...
like roughly how many miles? 4? 3?
Yeah, I'd say like even more than like probably like 4 or 5 miles.
And are we out
climbing.
of the saddle? Like
sometimes, I mean, especially, usually I am someone who's out of the saddle a lot more. This day I wasn't because I was watching my heart rate, and my heart rate does jump a decent amount when I am out of the saddle. But as I got later in the day, just from sitting on the saddle for so long, like I had to get out of the saddle quite a bit. And so
any neck pain or shoulder pain?
Back.
Yeah, back.
Lower back, I had to stretch quite a bit.
Because all the climbing, typically on big climbing days, it's the lower back that starts talking to you.
And I have like notoriously like just I'm tender in my lower back. So
he's tender. She's real tender.
I'm a tendy boy.
Little tenderoony.
I'm a sensey boy. But I was stretching that throughout the day. And you know, I won't go into like every, you know, mile by mile details of this ride, but like it was really, it started really testing me late in the day. I had like, as far as nutrition goes, I had a little top tube bag that I had a bunch of gels in. I probably took like 10 or 12 gels with me. I had both bottles that were filled with, you know, I had like SIS beta fuel, which was like pretty high carb mix. Everything was going good. Most of the day the aid stations were dialed. They had such good food.
Did they have actual food or was it
food?
Okay.
Yeah, they had like lots of actual food. They had like everything from, at one aid station, they had like top ramen, like cups, and they had
salt. I bet, because you get on these endurance rides, I find this happens to me too. Like you get so like just palate fatigue and you get so tired of eating chemical food. So when they talk about training your gut and training your body to absorb this nutrition, and I would think in general the rule of thumb is you're trying to consume, especially on a long day like this, something every 30 to 45 minutes essentially. Correct?
Yeah, and that's where I haven't experienced a lot of fatigue or even the symptoms I was experiencing with my body, because I just don't do days that are over
3 hours. Yeah,
don't do them. I mean, minus Wild West and a handful of these other little events that I'm like, you know, I should have built up this motor a little bit better in this experience, because I just don't have the time to really do those types of rides right now.
So you kind of just gotta.
So I'm kind of winging it, and I'm kind of just like, I did get some of that palate fatigue. I had too many gels. I was starting to feel nauseous later in the day. Even though I was getting in some regular food at the aid stations, I got in a bit of a hole. And like mentally, I think it was mile 70. As you're doing one of these out and backs, right? And I knew I was having, if you pull up, open your phone real quick and I'll show you right where it was.
It's interesting that you say that.
Right here.
Yeah.
Right? Before I'm having to do this.
He's kind of basically climb. Motioning to the last,
so
kind of the last peak.
A small peak, like an out and back in between these two bigger peaks here. And I knew I had 30 miles to go. I had just under 3K of climbing to go. And I was I didn't feel like I bonked, but I was nauseous. Every part of my body was sore. I had already cramped so severely up to this point. There was one climb where like I got out of the saddle and like tried to pedal, and like a shift was like at the worst point in time. And so like I really spun, and that caused both of my legs to lock up completely. So hard. I don't know how I didn't fall over. They were just stick legs, like
So
hard as concrete.
Charlie horse in each
Charlie
leg.
horse, both legs.
Now, was it your adductor, your inner thigh, quad, hammy?
Inner thigh is usually where it starts.
That's where mine are too.
But then along the front too, it all completely seized, and everybody's like riding by me. It just, of course, people love to chime in. You're almost there, dude. You got this. And I'm like,
fuck off,
asshole.
Now
I just fucking severely cramped. I can't even bend my legs. And so
now, was the group in largely together? Or did y'all kind of blow
we dispersed,
apart?
honestly, probably after the second peak.
So you were by yourself.
So I was by myself pretty much most of the day. There was a few people I was riding close to kind of towards the end, but like nobody I knew. But
nobody was working together.
No.
Okay.
At this point, I mean, I'm just like pure survival. I'm just like, I just have to literally make it up these climbs. There's no data. There's no like, of course there's data, but I'm just like looking at the map, trying not to check too often. But I'm just like, how much more do I have to go?
You play these games with yourself. You're like, okay, I'm not going to look at my map for 15 minutes.
Absolutely.
Like your mind, and you're not with anybody. And it's funny, typically every time I've done a century, around mile 70 is where there's a bit of a hill for me to get over. Yeah. And some people are really lucky who do these endurance rides, or it's their body or whatever, where they might start off rough. They're, have to settle into the day, like get their body into this rhythm, and then their body seems to improve the longer they're on a ride. And then you get over something at the middle, and then you finish strong. Sure. I'm pretty much like good, like downhill. My body, once it starts going downhill, there's no recovery.
There's no second wind. Yeah.
Never. It's just willing my body to continue.
Just pushing it. Yeah.
Yes. It's brutal.
And I don't know. I have had second wind moment. It's very rare, but I know that's like usually people that are pretty peak fitness, they can get to that other side. I don't know if like that's really a normal thing to be able to do, like being fair to us, because we're not really those like second wind people. But at this moment, it was everything had gone wrong, right? Like all of the dash lights are on for me, right? I'm just like, everything hurts. I'm nauseous. I'm like thinking very seriously about quitting. I'm just like thinking all of these ways I can get out of this. I'm like, I can't do this. I just literally can't.
Please have a mechanical. Please have a mechanical.
I'm at the aid station, just before at mile 70 or so. And I'm kind of peeking around. I'm just hoping I find some other dead soul that is as upset as I am. And there's nobody. And as a matter of fact, there was this one kid who was just like bubbly as shit. So happy. Kit was like super dialed. His whole fit, everything was so nice. He was just one of those people you just like, I just want to sock you in the face because you're just so positive. No. This kid made Jacob look like he was the most depressed person. This guy was so happy, and he like would ride by everybody. Hey, we're having a great day, aren't we? And I was just like, oh my God, dude.
How old?
He had to be maybe 20.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah.
Super tall, just skinny as a rail. Kit immaculate. Just everything
Not
just
like
made me upset.
So like the sweat,
No sweat.
Salt rings.
He's never sweat.
All on. You have that weird, like crusty snot mustache.
Terrible.
Just,
the whole thing. And
dry, like crusty rings around your nose. Just like, I'm great.
So I'm thinking about
sunburn.
All this. Yeah, sunburn, just pissed. But then I get a text, and service was super shit throughout the day. Like it's touch and go. Luckily, like where you start in Markleyville, as I have Verizon, for whatever reason, they're like, you won't have service here. And I had service there. So I don't know. If you do the event in the future, anybody else that's interested in this, maybe you're listening to this episode because you want to potentially do Death Ride. As a Verizon person, I did have service. So, But as you're riding through all these areas, they're remote. Like you don't have service through most of them. But I did get service at some point and got a text that came through. It was from my wife. And she sent me a text and she said, I just wanted to let you know, like, of course, me and the kids, we miss you so much. We're really proud of what you're doing. And I was just like, that's switched the whole fucking thing in my brain. I still was pissed and I still didn't want to do it. But like, I knew in my mind, I was like, I'm doing this and I don't care how long it takes me to do it, but I'm going to fucking do it. And I'm not going to throw in the towel because that's not the example I want to set for my kids, even though they're too young. They probably don't care at this point, but this is like another thing, just like Wild West. It's like, I will fucking do this. I don't know how. And everything in my brain is telling me that you're not going to fucking do it, but you will. And so at that point I just decided, and it took me a while. It took me a long while to get through those last few climbs. It was terrible. It was really daunting. And then it actually started fucking raining for the last probably 15 miles.
No.
Dumping with like thunder clapping and shit. And just like,
kind of an epic finish.
It was pretty
That's
epic.
how Sac Century did. It started dumping on us, but nothing compared to the death ride. And like Sac Century, you got baggy kit crew, people on tandem bikes. Very different scenario. But it dumped, and it was almost like it kind of added to just this epic finish.
Epic. Yeah,
You're
it did allow me to finish a lot stronger than I thought I would. My time in the end, which is very unimpressive, but it was just over 9 hours total ride time for me. Some of the other guys on my teams finished in like 6.5 hours. Like I think Daniel finished somewhere in there, and Nick Spano, which I'm not sure if you know who Nick is, but I think he's got to log like 500 miles a week.
Daniel also, I mean, who we've had on the pod. Daniel, I mean, sits on the trainer for 3 hours a day. Daniel's just gnarly.
Yeah.
No kids. No kids.
Yeah, he's
but he's awesome. We love a good Daniel.
I do got to give Daniel a shout out because he made these like rice cake things, and he brought one for me, and like I packed that with me, and it was like just this rice patties, like top and bottom, sandwiched in between was like, you're not gonna like this, but bacon. It was like bacon and like this bacon. It was so fucking good, and it was so salty, and I loved it. I loved every bit of it. This is our anti-vegan moment right here.
That's okay. That's okay. Hey.
But
I just got a whiff of bacon. Something I smelled it.
You got a bacon
I really
smell.
did. Did you eat bacon this morning?
No. I smell like bacon constantly.
Yeah,
I'm wearing
do.
this like bacon colored shirt. Maybe that's what's going on. Maybe it's a scratch and sniff like shirt.
Oh my God.
But so there was, everybody finished kind of all of it there. A few of the guys finished just over 7 hour. I mean, this was not an impressive finish by any means.
It's like,
but
that is such a testament to like the mind of most cyclists. Like here you are completing a ride that's over 100 miles, climbing 13K, which 13K is a huge amount of climbing. It's an enormous amount. You're basically climbing most of your day. And you're like, yeah, but I still suck because there were people that were faster.
Yeah, and
don't do that.
I know, and there was this bit of me like, and my wife was talking to me. She's like, "Do you think you'll do it again?" And oddly enough, as like horrible of a day as that is, I think yes. I was like, next time I will. Be more prepared.
I mean, now I want to do it, but
you have to. Like honestly, and I will say this: the views are unlike anything you will experience anywhere else. It is remarkable out there. It is so fucking remarkable. The mountain ranges, the whole thing, the descents. Fucking Daniel hit 66 miles an hour on one of the descents.
Yeah, and I want to talk. I want to talk about descending a little bit today.
Hit such high fucking numbers on these descents. I mean, and you go and you descend for 20 minutes. 30 minutes sometimes. Like it's so long. Your arms are like, dude, when is this descent
now,
over?
Is it switchbacks? Do we have hairpin turns?
There are a couple of those, but not majority.
So you're just like,
these are
kind
long,
of
flowy, like awesome semi-banked turns. Like they're amazing.
So I did want to talk about descending a little bit.
Let's talk about descending.
I mean, you love a good descent.
I love descending.
I don't. I don't.
Why?
Well, I mean, I feel like part of it is the fear factor because I bid it on a descent and I haven't worked through it yet. So the fear in my body. My sister actually, she's a massage therapist. She was looking at when I dumped my bike and what I think was probably broke my hip or snapped the top of my femur off and never went to the doctor. I have a huge hole in the side of my hip where I did something. This was about 8 months ago. And I've noticed that I have a lot of fear in my body. Now, it's funny because on the Madone specifically, I am a much slower descender than I am on the Imanda. Whether it be the wheels or whatever. I mean, the wind, I can't let go of that fear of like at certain speeds. If I go down, it's going to be the end of me. It's fear of getting injured again. So I won't typically let myself go over 45 max. I, like right at 45, like there's a voice in my head that's like, this is too fast.
Sure.
And that's just me. That's just me.
And all I can say in regards to that, like that's your.
I'm just being honest. And people can hate and call me a sissy or whatever, or a shitty cyclist.
I think that's a real thing. Like it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. That's like the truth in the way your brain has processed that, and it's real. Whatever your brain thinks is real, and so that's where. 45 is still fast as shit on a bicycle. That's very fast.
And like there's so many, like whether you are the best descender in the world, there are so many factors that are not within your control.
Yeah.
Whether it be a pothole, a gust of wind, some debris in the road, maybe somebody climbing up on the wrong side of the road, like something can happen and it's like a quick second and you could be down, you could be dead, it's just, for me, even so, my close friend Nave, one of the owners of Distance, Nave almost was pro at one time in his life. I mean, he was with me in the Dolomites. That dude is such an amazing cyclist. I mean, he can like bomb down descents with no hands. I mean, just like he's such a proficient cyclist. He went down last week and we were supposed to ride together this weekend. And he's like, it's been 20 years and I haven't crashed my bike. And he was on Camino Alto out of Mill Valley. He's like, I do this ride all the time. And there was a new pothole. I know this road like the back of my hand, bombing down. It was like a big crack in the road and his wheel slid into it. And he went over and smashed his face on his Colnago. Amazingly, the bike is okay, but he's jacked. Yeah. And he's like, I mean, he's one of the best descenders I know. So it's like, that's just one of those things where it's like, it can happen.
Yeah. And here's the only thing with that. And yes, there is a difference between these two speeds, but like 45, I don't know if you're missing that hole either. That's the only thing. Yeah. Like we try to convince ourselves that we know. Don't get me wrong. Yes, there's a difference between how you process things between 45 and 55 or whatever, right? It's a high risk, period. And I think sometimes we try to do this stuff. And that's what I try to tell myself too. There is a bit of like in cycling, especially in descending, where like any of these risks, I think I always understand risks, but the times I've gotten hurt the most are when I'm playing it safe. As dumb as that sounds. Like as soon as I dial something back, I start riding unnaturally and I start getting really fearful. And that's when it's dangerous for me.
Yes.
And
the fear is what fucks you up.
Yes. Really, and that's what immediately changes the way you're doing everything is once that fear kicks in. And I did that a lot. Like I was just telling you, there's these gusts of wind at Death Ride. And so like, I thought my main benefit and making up a bunch of time was these descents. I'm like, I'm going to fucking smash these things. And I was still cruising, but but I held it back a lot because there was gusts of wind and it was just pushing me all over the road. I'm like, it was like someone went on the side of me and just went like pushed me aside. And that scared the shit out of me. So it changed the way I completely rode. Now, if there wasn't that wind, I probably would have just smashed it. And there were some descents late in the day when it was wet. And it's like, I don't fucking know these roads. And I was trying to escape the rain because I could tell I was in the like rainy area and I wanted to get out of it. But it's all just measured risk. And you have to decide and understand what you're comfortable with. Also, while at the same time, like really understanding that there's some surrender to this situation, like it just, you've got to make those moments and those decisions in the moment. And, there is no perfect, you've hit plenty of potholes and areas where you weren't going that fast, and it can happen either way. I think riding scared is, for me, the most dangerous.
Yeah.
Now, riding like a fucking idiot is also extremely dangerous, and that's how you die, and that's how you fucking eat shit super hard and wreck yourself. They're both very dangerous. So I try to find that like middle ground.
So
generally,
this last weekend, I was telling you a little bit when I got here, I really wanted to escape the heat. My friends are renting this incredible Airbnb in Sausalito on the water, and I wanted to go get in some beautiful Bay Area rides. So initially Nave and I had planned on riding together, and then I found out that he had crashed, and I was like, well, I'm still going to bring my bike. I'll ride by myself. It was so windy. Now, I'm born and raised in Marin. I don't ever recall riding in that area and having this wind. It was insanity. Not only that, so let's see. I went from Sausalito, went into Fairfax, looped through there, ended up riding, climbed the backside of Alpine Dam, descended down, climbed up, and did the switchbacks up to like Panoramic Highway and descend down the back of Mount Tam. Then you pop out, you ride along the water, you're at Stinson, and then you climb Mount Tam back out and descend down into Mill Valley. It's not like a huge ride. It's roughly 50 miles with like 4,600, 5,000 feet of climbing. It was a beautiful day. I was so excited to do it and be out there by myself. But the roads for an area that caters to cyclists, and for the amount of money in that area, those fucking roads are rough. Rough.
Yeah.
I mean, there was one point when I was descending down to where Stinson Beach was on Panoramic Highway. I mean, it wasn't a pothole. It was just a straight up ledge drop off in the road.
Entrance to hell.
Yeah, totally. So I'm on the Madone still. I do want to talk because I do have my new bike.
Yes.
I was on the Madone, and that bike being stiff as shit, you just feel everything in your body, and it was super windy. So I was a little bit more weighted on my bars trying to stabilize my front wheel. I have those Ultra 50s on there so they catch the wind like a motherfucker. So it was a fun day, but scary. I think I was descending going like 18, 20 miles an hour because I'm like, and it made me feel better. Everyone else was like it that day, but yeah, it's
sometimes that's what you got to do. I mean, it is, especially those aren't roads you're used to riding all the time. And I mean, even though you're somewhat familiar with the area, it's just, when is it worth any sort of risk? It's not really. If you factor in all those things, if it's one of those things, maybe. If it's multiple, forget it. It's like I was just saying with those descents I did. Rainy.
Yep.
Maybe if you're being super brave, but then you add wind. No, it's just an immediate no after you throw a couple factors in. You're not on the bike you'd prefer to do that in, so that's maybe, and then you throw in like big gusts of wind. No, it's like, and road conditions, forget it. It's like that. You would just be an idiot if you decided to do that. Because once you know in your head that you're taking a bigger risk than you should, and then you play it back and you're like, yeah, my brain told me not to fucking do that because it knew all these factors. Then you're just
But I feel like once you get in a flow and like you're going really fast, your brain gets flooded with these endorphins.
Sure.
It's like that feeling that if you are a cyclist and you truly love it, you know that feeling when you're like, it doesn't get better than this. Like, this is my life.
Or a group ride, like a fast group ride. You get that, like,
you're like,
everybody else is going fast as shit. I'm going to do it. And then you just like.
And then when you replay it backwards, you're like, oh shit. Like, I actually took some pretty big risks there. Or that was a close call. Or, you know.
I've had a lot of those. Yeah.
So, okay, just to wrap up the death ride story nicely, I did ask numerous times, on average, like, was there kind of an average gradient just for people that know? Like, were we looking at like 5 to 7%? Are we looking at climbing 9%? Is it up to 20%? Like, what were the climbs?
Like 7 to 20.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, there were some more mellow pitches, but there's a lot of, like, if you're familiar with Wahoo, there's a lot of red. A lot of red, a lot of deep red.
Yeah, or that's the category climbs.
Category climbs it'll bring up. So
it's from 1 to 4. Like cat 4 would be easy. Mm-hmm. Cat 3, it like goes from there, and then anything over a 1, you go into those category climbs. Those those are
so it goes green, yellow, orange, red.
Yeah, I think it's similar on Garmin the way that they break it down.
Or like even is like just white. So a lot of like, just a ton of like deep red, orange, yellow.
That's
stuff.
awesome.
So
any other like takeaways, things that you would have liked to know before you started?
I probably should have studied and understood how long some of those later climbs were, because I kept playing those games, like you say, looking at the computer and like checking these climbs and how long is this going to be, and a lot of mental energy went into like wrapping my head around how long this is going to be, and I think that's taxing on you, as you're playing this game with yourself over and over of like, how am I going to fucking get through this day? I don't even understand what's ahead of me, and so that's where I think coming into it next year, it'll be a lot nicer because I know what's ahead of me, as daunting as that is.
I find also like fixating on the conclusion of the ride sometimes can be so punishing. Like, so I try to...
Makes it less fun, for sure.
It makes it less fun rather than kind of shifting your mind in this place where like, I'm here right now in this moment, like... Not to be like vegan cyclist, Tyler talks about this, like it's really like one pedal stroke at a time, taking in the scenery, tuning into your breath. On these endurance rides, I'm a big music person. Sometimes I have my phone playing in my back pocket.
I think that's one thing I changed for sure, because I did that a few times. I was like, oh, well, I'll play some music. And then there's like not service out there in a lot of these areas. So
download
like I couldn't,
the playlist.
Yeah, you got to download the stuff. So like I would have like either podcasts or music downloaded next time for sure, because I had my AirPods with me, but then it was like immediately out the window because I didn't prep for it. I think having more foods I like probably on my person would be nice, like even a couple, like whether it's like a Uncrustable sandwich or something like that, to like get some real food in the tank. Even though there was all these aid stations, you don't know where you're at when you hit those aid stations, you don't know if you're ready for that or not. So like it'd be nice anytime during the ride to just like wolf some real food down. And then just preparation, just doing a handful of like, even if it's just lake loops, the weeks prior, like a couple weeks prior, do a lake loop, maybe go out to Lake Tahoe, do like a big loop, like get yourself used to like a fucking day.
Yes.
Because I knew when I was coming into this event, it's like I was scared of it.
Yes.
But I knew like there was a way I could do it. Like there was some way I could do it, but I needed a little more homework before going into that. It was just a little... I shouldn't have had that moment at mile 70 where it was that deep. It was a dark place. It was like real dark. And I was like not expecting to be that dark at that point. But I huge fan of that event. I would tell anybody to do it. It was remarkable. Oh.
You need to fix your elevation.
Yeah, I need to fix my elevation. We have found out it's over 14K climbing.
And Daniel got a KOM.
Of course he did. That fucking son of a bitch.
Let's have him back. Let's have a good
Yeah,
old.
let's have Daniel back. Daniel's a G. I love Daniel. He does also log so many miles. Look at his Strava. Let's see what he's had for the last few weeks, like what his average miles have been. Go to his profile.
Let's go to Daniel.
Okay, let's go last week and see how many miles.
How do you do that?
You just go here.
Oh.
Okay, so 160 prior week. Click on the next one over.
Like that?
Where the little dots are. If you click where those little dots are. 213 the prior week. Yeah, so he's anywhere from anywhere from 200 to above.
Yeah.
So he logs some good mileage, that Daniel. But it definitely helps. He does a lot of climbing, though.
Yeah.
He does a lot. Like, if you look at those miles, a lot of it's climbing.
Yep.
So, yeah, and he's in major fighting weight right now. Like, he is slim, boy.
Yeah.
He is slim.
Yeah.
But, yeah, like I said, awesome thing. I did get to stay in the RV by myself, which was like... men are just such sloths when it comes to like not being with their women. Like, I was so not prepared for anything. I was just like eating all the food, watching all the Netflix, not doing anything. Whereas like when my wife comes and it's like we're doing things, we're cleaning things, but I was just like a mess. There was like shit everywhere. I was just having like a total.
But I feel like that's such a luxury for you. And like, you got to take those moments.
I had to have it.
There's no gray area with me. I'm like all in, balls to the walls, working, so productive, or I'm like in the bed.
What's the term? Rot? You're rotting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Total rot. Just like,
yeah.
I
think that's where I am too. That's probably both of us, like anxiety people. It's like you're either just like fucking going until you die, and then you just
yeah,
and you like can't move.
Yes.
Yeah. So I had a little bit of that, and then I was gonna head home after the event, but it's like I was dead. I was absolutely dead. I had no energy left. It was dumping rain, and so I like text my wife. I was like, I finished, blah blah. Of course, she's like, congrats, all that good stuff. And then I had intended on driving home, but I was like, the roads are not great because it's like super wet and like there's a lot of like, it's a wild drive back.
Yeah.
And so I just texted my wife. I was like, I think I'm going to stay here and I'm just going to crash. So I crashed another night, just chilled there, drove back in the morning. Awesome.
Good.
It was a great weekend. It was a really good weekend.
Proud of you.
And I think I'm doing another endurance event. So I think I'm going to do, what is it? Heart of Gold.
Yep.
Gravel. That's coming up in September. You should do it.
Yeah. I'm going to Lindsay's
And we could do it together. We could do it with Linz.
Yeah.
I have a feeling she's going to be there.
She's always there. We're doing a race this Sunday.
Are you?
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing?
Yeah. It's a Butte County gravel grinder. It's her birthday, her 40th birthday on Sunday.
Ooh, cool.
So I texted her yesterday and was like, hey, can I snag ya? I want to ride.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, yeah, so I want to do this. And I was like,
touche.
okay. So
you got it.
Yeah.
It's just a gravel grinder. It's all good. It's just a ride.
It'll be fine. Yeah. It'll be fine. It's like, I think it's 50 something miles with like 6,000 something feet of climbing. We're going to do it. We're going to go ride. She said that maybe she might want to do something else, like just go out, me and her, instead, so we don't have to spend 2.5 hours in the car at 4 a.m. But I'm putting it in her court, and I told her, you just tell me what we're doing.
Nice.
It's been a long time since I've been on my gravel bike, but I'm down.
You got it.
I'm down. Bring on the Sufferfest.
Gravel bikes are fun. They're fun. I just got mine fixed. I just got mine fixed. Did I tell you what the issue was?
No.
I snapped the upper part of the fork tube.
Cool.
3-inch crack in the carbon.
Cool.
And Matt had to locate one of the 2 that were left in existence.
So you got a new frame.
I got a new fork. It was just a fork that was cracked.
Got it. That's right.
But like I had that integrated Canyon, or still do, integrated Canyon cockpit on there, stem bar situation.
Yeah.
It cracked inside of there somehow because I was like tightening the stem, but this is before I realized it was cracked. I'm like tightening it and then it like come loose. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? But it was because the carbon was completely cracked. So it like tightened on there, but it's like overlapping itself.
Wow.
So we got a fork.
So
I've got to go pick it up.
You aesthetically could not see it when you were looking at it?
No.
Oh,
it was underneath where like the head tube of the bike is.
Got it.
It was that upper part. It wasn't the lower. And we think it was from Wild West from when I crashed. Yep. And so getting that fixed now so that I can smash, because we're getting close to cross season too. So that'll be my bike for cross. Rad. Which is what its original purpose was.
I'll talk maybe more about my new bike on the next episode.
We're running out of time now, but we do need to hear all about the new bike.
But I'll show you
custom painted
when it's
whip.
It's dialed. Although I will say, they were so awesome, all the people at Trek and Trek Waterloo. I mean, they were trying to apparently ship this bike to Italy, I was told. And I was like, I mean, that's so amazing that they would even do that for me. However, there is, I believe it's the headmast cover. Mm-hmm. That's the piece. It's piece number 13 on the item list. It was not in the box. So Trek Roseville put the one from my white bike on there. So I have this beautifully painted bike with the wrong headmast cover on it. And I hate to be a stickler, but it's an eyesore and I'm not happy about it. So I have this beautiful new bike. It's been sitting in my garage now for over a week and a half and I'm staring at it and I want to ride it, but I can't because...
But they're painting you one, right?
They are trying to locate the one that was painted, but like there's so many things. If you think about it, there is some like bearded tattooed dude in Waterloo that's in the factory freaking spraying all the bikes, and there's a queue of bikes that have to get done, and they rush this project, they speed it through, they custom paint me this bike, boom, done and dusted, project done. So for me to go back and be like, hi, there's this tiny part that wasn't painted. Like there's
Here's the deal though, at least they have one that was painted somewhere. Because the thing is, it's a continuous design. So like
where's the piece? I don't know.
I feel like he wouldn't have, someone who's painting it, wouldn't you think like, oh, all these ones I'm painting have this one piece. Why isn't there this piece for this one?
Yes, where's the piece? So I hate being a bug up people's ass and being like, hi, I know you guys did me this massive solid, but can I get this piece? And so then it's like, oh, well, would you settle with just a black one? And I'm like,
is that what you wanted to see me on out in the
I don't want to be Jaime, but like I really want the piece that matches the bike because it completes of the way that the top tube looks.
Honestly, like of all the things,
I'll show you.
All cyclists are pretty particular, so I don't think you're
so I gotta check my emails, but like that, hopefully there will be a resolution to that because it's a bummer. It's a freaking gorgeous bike.
Yeah, we need to get it out.
Yeah,
we need to get it out in the wild. Ooh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're looking at the picture now. Would that bug
you?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean.
Yeah, no.
No.
That's a hard pass.
The paint job's sick, though.
Very sick.
All right. Well, hey.
Yeah, we'll update you guys next time.
Awesome.
Maybe we'll post some photos of it when you get your piece back together. Yeah. But it was nice to chat with you guys about the Death Ride. If you guys want to check it out, definitely do it next year. I would highly suggest. We do have all these episodes. If you're watching on YouTube, you're like, duh, you're on YouTube. But we have all the new episodes going live on YouTube. So please like and subscribe, guys.
Comment. Send us some comments.
Hey,
let us know.
Smash that like button, you guys.
Go ahead and smash that like button. Turn on notifications if you want to know when we posted a new video.
I have to say that, but you guys, it does help us. We want to have the biggest cycling podcast known to man, and that's not too much to ask. So you guys, anyways, give us a follow on YouTube if you haven't. I still have not received any more fucking reviews on Apple Podcasts. So put a freaking review on there. At least just give the 5 stars. Don't even need an explanation. Just 5. 5, guys. Anyways, guys, we love you. We will be back next week with another episode. And until then, we'll check you guys later. All right.
Thank you so much. Have an awesome day.